What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Friday morning. The weekend is nearly here. Thank the Lord, the weekend is nearly here. Hope you're all doing very well. It's the morning after the night before, as we always say. Bit of a different show. You know what I like to do the day after a match, any match, Premier League, Europa League, whatever it may be. We like to delve into something a little bit different, do a little bit of a different morning show. We're going to be talking about Erik ten Hag's reaction to last night's 3-2 victory over Ammonia in Cyprus. We're going to be talking about some quotes from Marcus Rashford. We're going to be getting some of the clips from the guys in the studio, plus obviously the clips from Flex out there in Cyprus too. Flex was also in the press conference with both Erik ten Hag and Ammonia's manager Neil Lennon. Got to ask both managers questions, so we're going to get that up on the channel this morning. Up on the video, this morning, up on the stream. And we're also going to get your comments up on the screen as well too, such as I am me here saying morning chat, Kristen saying morning all, Zoe saying morning as well, Steffi Jenks, big up the moderators in the chat saying morning all, morning Owen, Ed T saying morning all, Steffi says no CR talk please. There's going to be a little bit. There is going to be a little bit. I'm trying my best to remain as positive as possible this morning. It's Friday, it's the weekend, you gotta be positive. We won last night, even though we made it incredibly difficult for ourselves last night in Cyprus. We won. We'll have to talk a little bit about Cristiano Ronaldo because we're going to be playing some clips this morning, and KG was very critical of CR7 last night, so we're going to play his clip. We're going to talk about that as well. So we're gonna talk about all of it. We're gonna dive into last night's match, the positives, the negatives, what it means for the game on Sunday. Because of course we've got a game in about 72 hours time. Of course we've got that game against Everton Sunday at Goodison Park. That terrible kickoff time. By the way, I mean that kickoff time at Goodison Park, 7 o'clock on a Sunday. The travelling fans, it's horrendous. It's absolutely awful. So we'll be talking about the preparation for that. Erik ten Hag had some interesting things to say about that. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. A bit of housekeeping earlier on as well before we get into the stream this morning. You can vote for us in the Football Content Awards. Links are in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. We're up for awards in 3 categories. How many days are there left? 2 days. Oh, it's the fine. I'm not going to sing. It feels weird if I'm singing by myself. Usually, my singing's so bad that at least if there's Flex next to me or in front of me, then I feel a bit better because I'm looking for that reaction. I can't sing it by myself because that's just weird. Because otherwise I'm just sitting here on my own in a room singing to a computer, and that would be, yeah, that might be something I have to bring up with like a therapist or something like that. So I'm not going to sing this morning, but you can vote for us in the Football Content Awards. Links in the video description. It's also a pinned comment in the live chat. You've got 2 days left to vote for us. So if you haven't already, or even if you've already had, vote for us again. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can do something magic. We've only been around 18 months to be just nominated and be alongside some of the people we're alongside in some of these categories is amazing. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And it's all because of you guys. It's all because of you. You're the ones that tune in. You're the ones that click the like on the like button. You're the ones that nominated us in the first place. You're the ones that are voting for us. So it's all because of you. We have the, and I know every channel says it, but we really do have the best community here. And the evidence of that is when KG was on his stream a couple of days ago and he had the hair painted on, the amount of messages I got on Twitter saying to me, Owen, KG has hair, you have to do something, was phenomenal. And I wouldn't change any of it. So be sure to vote for us in the Football Content Awards if you haven't already. And you can join the UV Members Club. Links in the video description below. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your exclusive members-only content such as UV Raw. You can put them all, your emojis in the chat right now. Your Owen emoji, Flex emoji, KG emoji, Marcel's porridge emoji. We're going to get clips from all of them this morning as well. But let's get into last night's game. Of course, Manchester United, second Europa League victory of the season. Second Europa League victory for Erik ten Hag as Manchester United manager. Back-to-back Europa League away victories for United after that victory in Sheriff all of those weeks ago. Feels like a really long time ago now, doesn't it? Nevertheless, it's back-to-back victories for Manchester United. And we were going into the game, certainly last night, weren't we? Well, speak for myself. We were going into the game last night thinking, Ammonia, they haven't beaten anyone. They're bottom of the group. Obviously, it's the biggest game in their history, but Ten Hag plays a strong side. We should roll them over. We should score 4-5 goals, or it should be comfortable, and it should be a reaction. We saw such a poor performance from United the weekend against Manchester City, and not just a poor performance in terms of tactics and in terms of individual performances, but in terms of spirit, aggression, determination, etc. We were looking for a reaction, and we didn't really get one. Last night. We got the win, and ultimately that is what matters, but we didn't get maybe the reaction from certain players we expected to get. He made 3 changes, Ten Hag. Not as many extensive changes as I would have maybe previously thought. In came Victor Lindelof, that was enforced because of the Varane injury. In came Casemiro from McTominay, which was expected, and in came Ronaldo for Rashford, and that was it. And we went in at half-time 1-0 down. And yes, we dominated the first half, but one counter-attack they score, individual errors as well leads to that goal. And we were rattled. We were really rattled. And it took to Erik ten Hag making substitutions at half-time and just after half-time in the second half to really turn the game around. The substitutions of Martial and Rashford really turned the game on its head. And that's why we're saying this morning, Ten Hag's, Martial is the one, and how Sancho and Malacia struggled. So that was really the story of the game last night. And even when we went 3-1 up, we made it incredibly difficult for ourselves. And just to get some of the quotes from Erik ten Hag after the game, he said, quote, "We started well, then an unnecessary mistake and a really bad 10 minutes. We have to learn from it. You let the crowd get alive. You have to avoid that." And that is true. That was my concern watching it at the time. Obviously, we couldn't hear it because a peek behind the curtain. When you're doing the match views, of course, you can't have the sound on because copyright is what it is. So you have to watch it in silence. But as you're sitting there and you're watching the game, you can just see the fans behind the goal in the stands bouncing like that. When a mass of people can kind of sort of sway side to side like a snake, or they can all sort of move in unison, and you could just tell without hearing it. I pointed to my eye there because I can't hearing it. Without hearing it, you could tell that crowd was up, and that's the last thing you want to do. Last thing you want to do in games like that against a weaker opposition, a smaller opposition, is give them something to hang on to, and we did. And if anything, half-time came at a really good time for Manchester United yesterday, because I'm not going to say we were on the ropes, but we were certainly rattled. Absolutely, we were certainly rattled at half-time. And you could see immediately how fragile Manchester United are, because that belief, bang, just disappeared again. And for 10 minutes, because they scored in the 35th minute, for 10 minutes, we looked shaky. And they started to have a bit more of the ball. And you did start to question, I know I did, at half-time, are United going to get back into this? Do I trust this group of players to get back into it? Thankfully, we did. Thankfully, we won the game. Thankfully, Erik ten Hag made the correct substitutions and we got the reaction that we needed to. And I think Ten Hag, again, would have learned a lot coming out of that game. I do. But I totally agree with what he's saying there. You let the crowd get alive and you have to avoid that. Now, when asked what Erik ten Hag said to his side at half-time, Ten Hag said, quote, "More runs. We are too static. We have to make the opposition move to get behind. That's why we made the 2 subs. The subs really had an impact today," which is absolutely correct. When asked about Anthony Martial, who we are going to talk about in a little while, of course, fantastic impact when he came on. Ten Hag said, quote, "We've already seen in pre-season, it was really disappointing when he got injured. It had an impact on our team's performance." He also then went on to say, quote, it has to only be a warm-up. On Sunday, we have to react." And I really like that last bit. When he talks about Martial, Ten Hag's clearly been all in on Martial since the very early stages of pre-season. I mean, obviously, we watched all the preseason games. Flex, KG, Josh, they were out there in preseason. It's very apparent from very early on that Erik ten Hag, Anthony Martial is his guy. And in fairness, in preseason, he was excellent. Granted, it's preseason, and it's difficult to take a lot from that. And he's been injured the majority of the season, right? He's been injured the majority of the season. The thing is, though, when he has been available or when he has been making these cameos, so against Liverpool, because obviously he missed the opening game of the season with that injury. Liverpool came on, assist. I mean, almost immediately. At the weekend against Man City, comes on, 2 goals. And you could say City took their foot off the gas, and that's fair, they did. But still, he looked lively. He was in the right position for his tap-in, and he wins a penalty and scores a penalty. They're numbers there. And last night came on almost immediately again. Bang, affects the game, scores goals. And I would think for Sunday, I mean, it was a no-brainer anyway that Martial would start, but particularly now, with the form that he is in, with the little minutes he has played, he has to start. He's had now, it was 45 minutes pretty much against Manchester City. It was about half an hour last night. You would think he could start against Everton, maybe play 75 minutes. I don't know if he'll play the whole game at Goodison Park, but you would think he'd play a significant portion of time on Sunday. And he's absolutely justified. His hold-up play is tremendous. His finishing's tremendous. And he looks confident. And we have seen this with Martial in the past, haven't we? That his 20-plus goal season was when, I believe it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, had his arm around him and said, "You're my striker, you're my guy." And I guess that's what it takes when it comes to Anthony Martial. But Ten Hag said a long time ago, didn't he? Well, you could feel it a long time ago that Anthony Martial was his guy. And the turnaround, and I don't want to be too over the top, but his turnaround is quite remarkable when you think about it, because this is a guy, for all intents and purposes, was gone. He was out the door. If he had even half lived up to what I think Sevilla wanted him to last season, he wouldn't be a Manchester United player at this point. Yes, there was no buy option for the Sevilla loan, but I think if he'd have played well, they'd have tried to make that deal happen. Martial, I think, would have tried to make that deal happen. So the turnaround there is really incredible. It really is, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see him start because we haven't seen him start for United this season. So I'm excited to see, imagine he does have a run of 5-6 games where he's starting, if he can stay fit, and that's a massive if, obviously, because you can't ignore that fitness record. But I'm excited with that, and I'm excited with his link-up with Marcus Rashford. I thought his link-up with Rashford last night was excellent. We saw it in pre-season. The link-up is excellent. Factor in Anthony on the right-hand side gives him something a little bit different to think about. Now, I thought Anthony was okay at points last night. I still think there's way more to come there. But I'm looking at Martial's cameos recently, and I think there's a lot of positivity there. In a game last night that wasn't overwhelmingly positive, and there was probably more negatives to take out of that game, even though we won. The positives you do look at in Martial and Rashford, they absolutely are there to be seen. But as Ten Hag said, and I think this is the key quote, isn't it, that it has to only be a warm-up. On Sunday we react. And because that's what really matters here, is that last night was difficult. Last night was, we made it way more difficult than we needed to be, and it needed to be. And we got the 3 points, good. But that was the expectation, is that we get 3 points. If we don't react when we play Everton on Sunday, if we lose again, massive questions. And this is once again on Sunday, an away performance. An away performance, we need a proper away performance. We've seen okay performances. We've seen victories. I don't know if the performances were right up there when we beat Leicester and Southampton away from home, but they were scrappy. When we played Brentford, we got absolutely demolished. When we played Manchester City, we got absolutely demolished. So I want to see a reaction in the Premier League on Sunday. I want to see a performance where we go, yeah, we played really well there. And Everton is not going to be easy. Not going to be easy whatsoever. They're not conceding goals at the moment. They've got the best defensive record in the Premier League, which is incredible. So it's going to be a really challenging game. Now, a couple of other quotes that Ten Hag said, then we are going to get to the press conference clips. Ten Hag said that it was not Ammonia's first goal, was not that I wasn't happy with. It was the movement with our ball. The width on the left-hand side for me was no good first half. The movements from behind the defending line. So I hoped with Luke and Marcus, we get more effect from that. And so, in my opinion, that happens. And he is right. He wasn't happy with the left-hand side. He literally changed the left-hand side in that game. Malacia Sancho, for him, weren't doing it. So he literally just changed the left-hand side. And now, again, looking forward to the Everton game at the weekend, you would say, well, what does he go with? Does he go with Rashford and Luke Shaw? Does he go with Rashford and Malacia? Does he go with, does he stick with what he had in Malacia and Sancho? I would think I think Malacia will probably play, even though I thought he was poor last night, and he was also poor against Manchester City, but I think he might get one more chance. I think that if Martial's up front, Rashford has to play off the left-hand side, because I said it before, I think Rashford, whilst he's done okay as a striker this season, he's not a striker. He will get more goals as a left winger, and obviously Anthony Martial will get more goals as a striker. The evidence is there. That's where they're most effective, and I think that's encouraging. Super chat from Red Baron says, with access to stats and multiple ways to watch highlights and an abundance of channels giving their thoughts, I think sometimes we overanalyze data/games when we're still in the early days. I mean, everyone has different opinions. The thing is with stats as well, stats and data, isn't it? Is that you can manipulate stats and data to fit any kind of, I hate the word agenda, but any kind of point you're trying to make, isn't it? I always say, when it comes to results, that in a couple of weeks' time, people will only remember the results. They don't remember performances. They don't really remember possession. They don't remember XG. All they remember is results. All they remember is points. That's it. You know, when we won the Europa League, Mourinho era, people don't think back to, remember that game in the group stage when we were rubbish? All they remember is that we won the Europa League. So that's what ultimately matters, results, and hopefully then performances can come after that. So I agree with you there, Red Baron. Let's have a look at the press conference then last night in Cyprus. Of course, Flex was out there in Nicosia for the game. He got a question to Ammonia manager Neil Lennon first, and then the Manchester United manager himself, Erik ten Hag. Let's take a closer look at what they both said.
What was your preparation like, and how difficult was it to keep your players calm in terms of not trying to play the occasion but remembering to have that game plan? And they clearly executed that really well against us. How challenging was that for you?
It wasn't too bad. We kept it like a normal week, but we did a lot of, obviously you don't need to do a lot of analysis on Man United because it's on the TV every week, and the players are known around the world. So yeah, I mean, we did a little bit of analysis yesterday, but it's not the real thing until you step across the line. And I just thought for the first 20 minutes we were a little bit spooked, and to be fair, United played very well. And then, like I said, once we got the goal, you could see the belief and the crowd, obviously, with the energy, making a real fist of it then. But, in terms of United, I thought Casemiro he's one of my favourite players anyway, but I just really enjoyed watching him. And thankfully, Cristiano didn't have his shooting boots on tonight. But for us, where we are, it was very special. You know what I mean? Very, very special. And we can take a lot from that. Now we have to park that and look forward to the league game on Monday.
And just lastly, I know you've got a great relationship with Sir Alex.
Yes.
Did you speak to him in the lead up to this game?
Yes.
And how much are you looking forward to getting back to Old Trafford and having a glass of red?
It's one of my favourite grounds in the world. And I played there with Leicester and played there with Celtic. And it is just outstanding, particularly on the European night. And I played in the 90s when Manchester United were the best team in Europe, so it was part of my football education, playing against Roy and Beckham and Giggs and Scholes and all these guys. That team in 99 for me still the best, So I've got very happy memories of pitting my wits against the best as a player and, looking forward to going there as a coach now.
Η ερώτηση ήταν πώς ήταν η προετοιμασία για αυτόν τον αγώνα. Ήταν μια φυσιολογική εβδομάδα για μας. Δεν χρειαζόταν τόσο μεγάλη ανάλυση διότι ήδη.
Hi Eric. To draw on a few positives, Casemiro getting a start and had quite an influential performance, and Marcus Rashford, back off his injury, getting on the score sheet, linking up more assists as well. Also, Lisandro Martinez passing through the lines, initiating attacks. How encouraging is that going forward? That yes, there are some setbacks, but also you're looking at the way that we're building up and progressing through the lines, and things are starting to happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's a process, and a project and a process, and we knew that from the start. And we have to give every day our maximum. We have to improve every day, and but also sometimes you fell back, and then we have to get up again. And that is what I demand from my squad. And so we have to carry on and every time learn the lessons and give the maximum. And because only good for me is good enough. And in this moment, by far, we are not that good. We have seen on Sunday, and we have to do much better. And especially, I think the main problem is, and that is what we did in games before, much better intensity. We have to bring every game the intensity on the pitch, and that was the big difference between City and us. And so that is a demand to our squad, to all of our players. They have to take responsibility for that.
So those are the thoughts of Ammonia manager Neil Lennon and Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag. Flex asking the questions there in the press conference in Nicosia. And honestly, I always have to still pinch myself that Flex is there asking questions. It's awesome. It's so great. It's levels being raised, and I think any fan channel as well, when they're involved in those press conferences asking questions. I know it's not just been us in the past. I know Flex asked the questions on tour and has asked questions in the past, but I know Adam from United Stands has asked questions. I think the guys from Stretford Paddock have also asked questions in there, and I think it's just great, isn't it? It's great to have that, that fan-driven question, or maybe a little bit of a different question. Not that the journalists ask bad questions, but it's just different, isn't it? And I think it's real great to see all forms of media being represented in there, and it's fantastic to see. So shout out to Flex for asking the question, and I thought it was really interesting, Erik ten Hag's response actually. Flex kind of focusing on maybe the positives coming out of yesterday's result, and Ten Hag saying that he agrees. He agreed with Flex and saying that it's a process. It's a process of finding out what is the best team that he has, what players he can trust in certain situations, trying to construct the side that he's looking for. Because you have to kind of also realise too that clearly I don't think Erik ten Hag's been able to play his strongest or his preferred 11 so far this season, realistically. Because this kind of brings it back to Anthony Martial, and I'm going to put a poll in the chat asking if you think Martial should start against Everton on Sunday, because realistically, as I mentioned, has Erik ten Hag really been able to play his strongest starting 11? We saw all the way through pre-season that Martial is Erik ten Hag's striker. Now, obviously, we've been without him for the entirety of this season so far, and because of that, and because of the questions about what does Ten Hag want to do with Ronaldo? What does he think Ronaldo is capable of? Can Ronaldo play 90 minutes in the way that Erik ten Hag wants him to play? Arguably no, because even when Martial hasn't been available, and we've had one recognised striker available, i.e. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's still gone with Marcus Rashford. So I think, to his point, it is still a bit of a process to figure out what is going to be the best side, trying to find that consistency in team selection. We had it for a brief period with those games that we won the 4 games in a row, but we still didn't have the strongest players in Ten Hag's mind. And I think that, honestly, I so hope he can stay fit. And this isn't because, you're Martial FC, etc. Because I think the evidence is there already. And also, as I want to back the manager. If the manager feels like Martial is his best striker, then we need Martial to be fit, and we need Martial to be effective. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Got over 500 people watching, less than 100 likes. Mr. Phelan's going to be furious. Let's see what you guys are saying also in the chat. Let's see. Let's get a couple of members' comments up. What have we got here? Dilvus says, Owen, if not Martial, who Ronaldo? Can't do it anymore. We are going to talk about Ronaldo in a little bit. Red Baron with the super chat said, I asked a question months ago about how do you think Ronaldo will or is splitting the fan base. From looking on social media, it looks bad. I think with, I appreciate the contribution, Red Baron. I think with Ronaldo, he's always, even if he's in good form, like last season, right? Ronaldo last season, what was he, 3rd top goal scorer in the Premier League and was playing well at points, certainly towards the end of last season. He had a really barren spell around December, January, February time, I think it was, but really turned it around and was playing fantastically towards the end of the season. One of the few that was actually playing okay towards the end of last season. Even then, when he was playing well, he still was dividing opinion. People were still unsure about, whether he should be playing for United, whether he was hurting or hindering the way that Manchester United were playing. So I think that he's always going to be a polarizing topic. I do think so. What else is? Ed T says that's Flex's last presser. He deserves stadium bans for all of his judge. Josh too. Look, the judge was defeated somewhat yesterday. I'm not going to say it was completely defeated by Flex, because he did touch the goalpost twice. He touched the goalpost. It was the one that Ammonia scored in the second half, and I thought, I'm telling you, that when they had a free kick towards the last minute of that game, and I was thinking they're going to score 2. They're going to score 2 in that goal because Flex touched the post. I was ready to riot in that studio if that happened. I posted a GIF on Twitter, at Owen United View, by the way. I posted a GIF on Twitter of William Regal putting on brass knucks. I was going to come for Flex. I was like, when he lands in Cyprus, I'm I'm going to come for him, I'm telling you. But it didn't happen. What's the poll saying? So the poll has only been up a couple of minutes, and it's pretty unanimous, actually. The question was, should Martial start against Everton on Sunday? 92% say yes, only 8% saying no. Wow. And a super chat from Daniel Hodgson says, I love Rashford, but he's better off the bench. Wow. I thought Rashford's played actually very well this season. I know, like, obviously yesterday he came on and was effective off the bench. And granted, against Manchester City at the weekend, he started and he wasn't very effective at all. You could argue maybe that's because he was playing centre forward once again. You could argue that's because he was coming back off an injury, the same as Martial, but Marcus Rashford was coming off the back of a hamstring injury. He looked way more sharp last night than he did at the weekend. And I think we've seen last night, but also against Arsenal, we saw just how effective Marcus Rashford can be off the left-hand side. I think that against Arsenal, and this is where I say that Ronaldo still does have a part to play, because against Arsenal, Ronaldo came on, he went up front, and Arsenal were a bit unsure how to deal with him, because you actually had a proper striker on there, and they were then concerned about Ronaldo's qualities, and it shifted Marcus Rashford out to the left-hand side, and suddenly he was way more threatening, because he does have pace. He does have this explosive pace. He can get past people, which, in fairness, you look at our other wingers, our top sort of starting wingers, as it were, Anthony and Jadon Sancho, do they possess the pace that Marcus Rashford does? I'm not sure they do. Now, maybe Marcus Rashford doesn't possess the technical prowess of Jadon Sancho or the skill of Anthony, but I think he has the pace to beat players, which we need, especially on the counter-attack. And I think he thrives off being able to link up with a centre forward that does have decent hold-up play, and that's where I think Anthony Martial is going to be incredibly critical for us. So I think Rashford will get more goals off the left. I said that before, that I think Rashford would actually get more assists starting as a striker and get more goals off the left, and clearly he's more comfortable off the left-hand side as well. And I believe he actually spoke about Anthony Martial after the game, Marcus Rashford, talking about how much of an influence he could be, since we're talking about Martial. He said, quote, "He is a massive player for us. He has been for a long time. When he is happy and at it, he is an unbelievable player. We've both been injured, him longer than me, so it's good for him to get minutes and make an impact." And again, as the poll says, it's pretty unanimous that he should start on Sunday, and I really hope he does, because I want him to get that run of games. And it's crazy that it's nearly 10 days into October now already. My goodness, but it's only nearly 10 days into October, and we're just starting to say now, okay, can Martial get his season up and going? Because if he has another setback with an injury, then we start to talk about, okay, who plays up front? Is it Ronaldo? Is it Rashford? And we're having to do square pegs and round holes kind of situation again. So here's hoping Martial can stay fit, and here's hoping he can influence the games going forward. Let's move on to Flex's view after the game. We heard Flex ask the questions in the press conference, but here was his view on the game out there in Cyprus.
This is where you got to give credit where credit's due. Ten Hag clearly wasn't happy with what he saw, and rightly so, and literally took off our whole left side in Malacia and Jadon Sancho, who really weren't at it. It was far too passive. It was far too safe. There was no overlapping. Malacia wasn't getting on the ball enough and taking players on. Neither was Jadon Sancho. There was just no cohesion and connection out there. And he makes a change at half-time and brings on Rashford and Shaw. And instantly, the game changed. And Marcus Rashford was fantastic when he came on. Scores a fantastic goal as well. Martial comes on. He gets to play in the number 10. He plays on the right-hand side as well. Scores another fantastic goal. And then you're thinking, right, you know what? Well done. Well done to come back from the shock. Let's just see this out. And then we go and get a third goal. And then at 3-1, what do? Make a mistake again. I think it was Lindelof who was sloppy. Really, really poor. And then we're back on the, not back foot again, because actually we had chances to make it 4-2 by then, or even 5-2. Just keep scoring goals. But we didn't kill them off, and we kept giving them one last roll of the dice. And it was quite frustrating. Now look, you can look at this game and say, "Boy, flipping it, look at Man United, man. We're struggling to beat Ammonia. We should have been putting them to the sword and X, Y, Z." And in reality, that's true. That is true. We should be turning up here, and with the dominance that we had, you would like to leave here winning 3, 4, 5s, But if you flip it, not flipping, but if you look at the positives as well as the negatives, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a sec. The positives are, Martial coming back from injury, that's 45 minutes under his belt against City, scores 2 goals, but obviously there was nothing to take from the game, but on a personal for him, it's good. He comes on today, absolutely adds to the game as well, really good when he came on, great link-up play, setting people in, trying to find Ronaldo, putting it on the plate for him a couple of times, linking up well with Rashford for the goal. And he gets himself a fantastic goal as well, almost instantaneously from coming on. So that's going to do us well. Ronaldo, again, talking about some of the negatives, was just absolutely desperate to score. Desperate to score, rightly so. He knows he's not the number 1 star. He's seen Martial being the number 1 star, and now he's building back his fitness as well. And there's no doubt for me that Martial starts against Everton now. He's got the minutes under his belt. But Ronaldo wanted to score so bad, it just wasn't happening for him. Even to the point where he squares it for Rashford, that's a shot. That's a shot. You almost get that sense of he was almost annoyed that he scuffed this shot that ended up being a cross and a tap-in for Marcus Rashford. But, he hit the post from 5 yards in the second half when it was laid on the plate for him by Dallo, who played well. So, look, there was some...
The views of Flex there, out there in Nicosia. That's actually David De Gea's shirt on his shoulder. Yeah, you can see on all of the clips, by the way, all of the videos are up on the channel now. So after this, if you would like to check them out in their full form, you can do so. But that's actually David De Gea's shirt. Yeah, he was given David De Gea's shirt after the game. So I'm not sure what the plan is for that. Maybe there'll be a giveaway on the channel. Who knows? You might be able to get a match-worn shirt by David De Gea. Wow. But big up Flex out there representing UV in Cyprus. I do want to talk a little bit about Terrell Malacia and Jadon Sancho, that left-hand side. Erik ten Hag did mention that, didn't he, after the game, saying that he wasn't happy, clearly, with the left-hand side, so he changed it. He changed the entire left-hand side, brought on Rashford, brought on Luke Shaw. And it leads me to discuss then, going and looking forward to Sunday and taking into account last night, who do we think starts on that left-hand side? What do we think that looks like? I think Jadon Sancho now, whilst he has had, and this is the thing with Sancho, last night I thought he was really poor. I thought he was really ineffective and largely anonymous. And the same way that he was against Manchester City, largely anonymous, very poor. So was everyone else though. But, there's been sometimes criticism of him this season, but you can argue, actually, well, you look at his numbers, he's got a couple of goals, a couple of assists, you would maybe expect a little bit more, but now that Martial's coming back, and logically that would shift Rashford out to the left-hand side, and now you would start to say, well, okay, then does Jadon Sancho have to start looking over his shoulder a little bit? Does he have to think, well, Rashford clearly might be a bit ahead of me, and on the right-hand side, we know who's playing on the right-hand side. It's always going to be Antony. You don't spend 100 million euros on a player for him not to start. So does Sancho have to be a bit weary for his starting spot now? And does he have to now wait for his opportunity to get back in? And when it comes to left-back, I thought Terrell Malacia, again, was really poor last night. He was poor against Manchester City. Granted, earlier on this season, for that stretch of 4 games where we won in the Premier League, I thought Malacia was sensational. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was a bit of a spark in that back four. And that his aggression, his energy, his stamina was greatly needed. But in the last 2 games, he's been lacking in quality somewhat. And now you start to see Luke Shaw maybe getting his way back into the side. I think both players, Malacia and Shaw, are going to be incredibly important. But there is clearly competition at left back, isn't there? And just when you think maybe Malacia's a little bit ahead, Shaw either comes back or Malacia drops down a little bit. And I think we're going to go back and forth a little bit on this season. So I've put in the chat who should start at left back against Everton on Sunday. And Luke Shaw's on 63%. Malacia's on 38%, which is quite interesting, actually. I think Malacia might just start. I think that Ten Hag might just give him another shot, but to be honest, if he decided to go with Luke Shaw, I wouldn't necessarily blame him. I think Shaw last night when he came on, I thought was good. I think, a positive with Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford too is that they've got years of playing with each other on the left-hand side, so certainly that relationship is there. You don't have to build a relationship, as is always the case of Luke Shaw. You want him to do more. You want him to show sometimes the energy or the aggression that Terrell Malacia is showing. You want him to make more runs, make more overlaps, go past Rashford and, drive into the box. Because when he does do it, it's effective. He just doesn't do it enough. So I think that's going to be a really interesting dilemma for Erik ten Hag at the weekend. And I wouldn't be shocked if against Everton he sticks with that left-hand side that worked in the second half last night. I wouldn't be shocked if he sticks with Rashford and Shaw. And again, this goes back to my point that I think that he's always going to be in this learning phase at the moment, whereby he thinks he's got the right starting 11, or he thinks he's got the right people in the right positions, and then certain games or certain instances might make him reconsider things. And that's how if you're a player like a Luke Shaw, who just a couple of weeks ago, people are like, oh, he's finished, he's done, let him go in the summer. And I probably was one of them as well. Suddenly it's, maybe Luke Shaw should start at the weekend. I really want to get you guys' opinion on this one, because I was thinking about this before I went live. Show Rahman is a member of the UV Members Club, says, I have to admit, I badly misunderstood what type of player Sancho was when we bought him. His serious lack of pace and lack of intensity on the ball has shocked me. I don't see him making it. I just think he's a different kind of player. I think that Jadon Sancho does not have the pace to beat a man, which is fine when you're dominating the ball and you're a possession-based side. The issue is that Manchester United don't really know what side they are at the moment. We're playing sometimes counter-attacking football. We're playing sometimes possession football like last night. But that's because we don't have the quality to impose our style of play on the game yet, or maybe the confidence to impose our style of play. You know, in the same way that if it's Man City, if it's Liverpool, if it's now Arsenal, they play their way, their style of play regardless. It doesn't matter on the quality of the opposition, they're playing their way. We're still in the phase where we have to adapt. We're still in the phase where, depending on the opponent, we're not going to be able to dominate possession, so we're going to have to do something different. Depending on the opponent, they're going to do a low block, so we are going to have possession. And I think that leads to people like Sancho sometimes you're not sure where it's going to fit in, you know. Swift says, it's difficult for whichever left-back plays if Sancho is on the left wing. I think Just Josh Media is in the chat. There he is. Eyeballs emoji. He isn't Mr. Phelan, but I would assume if Mr. Phelan was in the chat, he would probably say something like smash a like on the like button. Got 700 people watching, less than 200 likes. And I'm sure that Mr. Phelan would be probably furious at this point. If anything, if you listen close enough, you can probably hear him. He would be furious. So, yes, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And be sure to vote for us in the Football Content Awards. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comments in the live chat as well. You've got 2 days left before voting closes. So be sure to vote for us there. We're up for 3 categories. And actually, as time's gone on, in the poll in the chat, it started to level out a little bit. For the question, who should start at left-back against Everton on Sunday, now only 55% say Luke Shaw and 45% are saying Terrell Malacia, so it's quite close. I think, as I mentioned, and there is Mike Phelan, says it's an absolute disgrace. Which ironically is something Josh would say, but they are different people. So they just talk very similarly. It's strange. So yeah, let me know in the chat as well who you would like to see start at left back too on Sunday, and actually who you'd like to see start on that right hand side as well. Let's get to another clip. Let's see what Mina had to say after the game. I spoke to her in the studio. Let's see what Mina thought of United's victory.
You saw a lot more of possession-based football. We saw a lot of passing, one-touch passing, people getting into space, people moving around. He was moving around. Rashford was, but Sancho, who I think even like Sancho and Malacia coming off at half-time showed that Erik ten Hag was disappointed with the left-hand side. And I was too, because that first goal we conceded came from there, but then even the chances that we were creating, a lot of it was actually coming quite often from the middle or from the right-hand side. And when we changed that left-hand side, the whole game changed for us. Rashford and Luke Shaw had that link-up where, Luke Shaw overlaps. And we saw Rashford waiting for that overlap today, and Luke Shaw came with it and actually put a ball into the box, and it just got cleared out. I think I'm tired of this Ronaldo thing. Like I said it last time, I'm actually tired of talking about the Ronaldo thing. I think it's best to part ways, but people, in a game like this, I expect Ronaldo to score. I expect him. And those chances, I don't know if it was just unlucky chances, but how can you get unlucky 5-6 times?
Talk to me about Rashford, because Rashford came on, really changed the game along with Martial. And look, this season he's played very well. He got Player of the Month for September in the Premier League. Gets a goal again tonight. Where do you think he's going to be the most effective? Is it he's played as striker, but are we going to see him get more goals if he's starting off that left-hand side? Yeah,
I want to see him starting on the left. I think him playing up top, we've seen him being like the last man up top. We saw it with Arsenal. We saw it. He actually scored. But I think with the way Sancho's form is looking right now, I know Rashford's licking his lips and thinking, yeah, I'm going to get into that spot. Because we even saw it with the chances he was creating today, but except for the one obviously that he scored, but he created a chance for Ronaldo. It was him coming off that left-hand side. He even took on his man where he does that stupid kick and run after the ball thing that I used to hate. But today he beat his man with that, and it's more easier for him to do it on the wing. I think we might get the best out of Rashford on the left if Malacia is able to, build that collaboration and that link up with him, similar to what he has with Luke Shaw. Him and Anthony have a great understanding. Martial, Anthony Martial, they got a great understanding. They got a great understanding, and if Martial is going to play up top as a 9, and Rashford is going to play on the left, and Brazilian Anthony on the right, I think that could work. I would actually expect to see that against.
Okay, guys, now's come that time. Shout out Mina, big up Mina in the studio last night. Match was a lot of fun last night. We had a full house. It was KG, Marcel, Mina, myself, and Louis there. Shout out to everyone and everyone that tuned in. We've got to talk about Ronaldo now. We've got into the Ronaldo segment of the show, and I know, look, yeah, because you have to bring him up. And because KG's clip is next, and he was talking about Ronaldo, so we are going to bring him up. Last night, Ronaldo, I'm not going to say he struggled, because I don't know if that's necessarily fair. I think last night we probably saw maybe one of the better Ronaldo performances, actually, we've seen this season. I thought he played well when he came on against Arsenal, actually, at Old Trafford. I thought he did very well, actually, in that game. And last night was another start for him. His third start of the season, I think? Fourth start of the season. Because he started all the Europa League games and he started against Brentford, didn't he? So fourth start of the season for Cristiano Ronaldo. And look, had quite a few chances, missed them. I thought first half he looked actually a little bit quite sharp, actually, I thought he had that shot where the keeper made a save. It must be said, Ammonia's keeper was sensational last night as well. So he had that shot in the first half where he made a save. Had the thing when Bruno clipped the bar, it was offside in the end. Second half, though, is the one where he has a lot of chances, right? Hits the post. Towards the end, Marcus Rashford was trying. He was trying everything to give CR7 the ball and get him that goal. The assist that he gets for the Rashford goal, it's a shot. It is a shot. No, you can't say it was a pass. It was a shot. And you do feel for him because it's not a case of a lack of effort. You can't fault Ronaldo, I don't think, for his effort and his professionalism. Two things you'll never be able to fault Cristiano Ronaldo for. And I think KG did start off with this in his clip, which we'll show in a second. But I think when you talk about Ronaldo, it's important to be fair. It's important to be respectful as well. Marcel last night was saying, old man. That's incredibly disrespectful. And I do still think he has something to offer Manchester United this season because I think we've seen it. When he comes on for 30 minutes, on the 60th minute mark, he can change the game and he can affect the game depending on where the game is at that period of time. But last night, you did see a guy that still doesn't look sharp. And it's the debate now isn't it, with Ronaldo is it a case of he's not sharp because he didn't have pre-season, he didn't have that entire summer of preparation, there's other stuff going on, there's speculation about the future, is that why he's not sharp? Or is he not sharp because he's now, this decline is starting to speed up exponentially? That's the debate point, really, isn't it? Is it a case of not having matches, not having match rhythm, or is that just his level now? And people will say, well, can you drop off like that in 6 months? Because in 6 months ago, he was scoring goals for Manchester United, third top goal scorer in the Premier League, and that's fair. But sometimes it can. Sometimes it can drop off that quickly, and we don't know. I think the interesting thing will be now for Ronaldo, when he does get his move away from Manchester United, which I don't think happens this season, but when he does move away, when he gets that run of games consistently, is he then back to scoring goals again all the time? I don't know. I don't have the answer. And, I said it last night in my fan view after the game, I am getting somewhat tired of talking about him, but you've got to, because he's always a point of conversation in Manchester United. When he plays, you're talking about him. When he comes on, you're talking about him. And in the case at the weekend, when he doesn't come on, you're still talking about him. And do I think he's going to play on Sunday? I don't think he'll start. Absolutely, he won't start because Martial's that starting striker now. Will he come on? Possibly. I think if we were 1-0 up, if we're chasing the game, if we're 1-0 down, or if we're level, 60, 65 minutes, I think Ronaldo will come on because he can affect the game, because he does give the defenders something different to think about at that point. But when it comes to him starting games for United this season, I just don't think we see it. And everyone wanted him to score last night. Of course we did. You wanted him to score, and you wanted him to get on the score sheet, and then be like, because everyone wants everyone wants Ronaldo to be Ronaldo again at Manchester United. Everyone wants that. It's just a case of, is that possible? And as I mentioned, I think the real debating point is this lack of sharpness, is this, this yard or so he looks off of it, is that because of no pre-season, or is that because of decline? And I think time is going to tell that. I do. But speaking of Ronaldo, KG spoke about him after the game. Let's have a look at what KG had to say.
Biggest issue today, Ronaldo's an issue. Ronaldo's an issue.
Talk to me about Ronaldo. It's going to be my next question. I was going to bring up Ronaldo. Obviously, we just done the match view. You were critical.
Yeah. I'm very critical.
People accusing you of having an agenda. What do you want to say?
I'll say to those people, shut the hell up. I'm not going to do that. I think we need to be responsible when we talk about Ronaldo, but we have to be fair. Again, people don't feel this way with any other player, but this guy. I understand, yes, he missed preseason, yes, but he's 37. He can't do what he used to do. And you're seeing this, like, not like his powers are waning, but he's just getting old. Father time will get involved. Like, we try to, the most annoying thing for me is when you accommodate. I don't want to accommodate any single player. If Bruno's not working, take him off. If Ericsson, if anyone, I'm no longer player FC. I used to be. Reformed player FC guy, I can say that now. I don't want a player in there just because we're like, hopefully we can give him this. We move Martial. Martial is on fire. Yeah, what we've done to Martial is to accommodate Ronaldo. We said go and play on the right. Martial comes in, one chance, goal, and you say to yourself, well, give him the space. If it's a meritocracy, finally can say, come on, growth. Yeah, if it's that, then let it be that. But then you're pushing a man in, and that's why Ten Hag's words when he says respect, he's giving himself this. He's made things hard for himself because now everyone's going to be looking. It's all about Ronaldo. It's all about Ronaldo. No, if you don't like what he's doing, take him off. Simple as that. But we're forcing it because again, we have to now. This is a new story. So it's pissing me off really. Because today he should have got 4 goals, at least two. Nothing.
There's a poll in the chat. There was a poll in the chat asking if the agenda is strong for CR7. Personally, myself, I don't think it is. But, when he talks about CR7, when he talks about Ronaldo, sometimes they'll say, KG, you've got an agenda. I don't think he does. I don't think he does have an agenda. I think that... he's. I think part of it maybe last night was that again when you talk about Ronaldo, when he misses a chance, you go, you should be scoring that. You get pushed back with a lot of stuff, but it's quite close. Oh no, the agenda is not strong according to 57% of people. 43 are saying yes, the agenda is strong. So there you go. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. We've got over 800 people watching. I think we've still got less than 200 likes. I cannot believe it. 1 foot in the grave. I don't believe it. There you go. It's 5 likes away from 200. We can do better, especially in these solo streams, because I feel like we need to. In the solo streams, we're in this together, right? We're in this together with the solo streams. I think I might have missed a super chat as well. Here we go. Red Baron with the super chat says, if you take off Mike Phelan's head, Josh is there. Well, we're talking about likes, aren't we? So there you go. Perfect segue into the like. But Josh and Mike Phelan are different people. This has been proven, factual. You can go on those fact checker websites. It's not fake news. Josh and Mike Phelan are different people. And in the same way that KG and the Scout are different people as well. There are multiple characters here on United View, and they all have different roles and different personalities. 2 different people. He's in the chat this morning, Mike Phelan. Says 2 different people. I don't know what more proof we need to do. They're 2 different people. I mean, eventually one day we'll get them both on the screen at the same time. If that's what you really want. If that's what you really want, we'll get them up on the screen at the same time. Just thinking how we're going to do that. And then it says Josh, facts. Again, 2 different people. There you go. So that was it. Stephen Grant with a super chat. Appreciate the contribution. Says Ron tried too hard, but how many on target? Again, the hope is when it comes to Ronaldo, just to put a button on the Ronaldo debate, is that again that he will, I say come good, but he will rediscover some form. It's going to be difficult. I totally agree. It's going to be difficult that even if it's not a physical decline or a decline in ability, even if it's not that, the match rhythm he will not get this season at United. That's the problem too. He won't get that match rhythm because he's not going to be starting consecutive games. There isn't going to be a time where Cristiano Ronaldo starts 5 games in a row for United this season? Realistically, is there? Look at that fixture list. He's just not. That's not going to happen. So you do wonder when that run of games is going to come from. And especially at 37, 38, you do need consecutive games, and that's not going to happen at United. So I don't know if we're going to see a better version of Cristiano Ronaldo this season. El Cap says, is David De Gea cursed to never leave his 6-yard box? Well, what a perfect segue that is, El Caps. Appreciate the contribution, because if we're going to talk about David De Gea, we've got to bring up one person, and that, of course, is Marcel. What did Marcel have to say after the game last night? About Casemiro there. Obviously, before the game was a discussion point of whether he was going to start. Yeah. Got 80 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's been reported he's probably going to start against Everton at the weekend. You were on Casemiro watch on the match view. What did you make of his performance? And is this now the time he starts to bed himself into the United side, do you think?
I hope so. But I did say, after the City game, that I want a similar team. So I would like to see maybe Scott start again. But and after this performance, the first half wasn't that good. The second half was a lot better. He just goes into these challenges too quickly. He's too rash. But then sometimes Scott's like that. Obviously, we know Casemiro's got the quality and ability defensively, and he will displace Scott. So at some stage, he will. I 100% believe that he will. It's just I would have given this whole squad that just got absolutely mauled against City just the opportunity to show that they have the ability again, especially after this game.
I love this comment here from Dilvis. Says Marcel have the gender. Yeah, big up Marcel. I do want to talk about Casemiro and McTominay before we wrap things up here this morning. Obviously, Casemiro started for United last night, played 80 minutes. You would think now is the time that he's going to be playing more games for United, or certainly starting more games, becoming a regular starter. As Erik ten Hag said in his press conferences after the game against Manchester City and before the game against Ammonia, he said that it wasn't a case of anything negative or bad that Casemiro had done. It was more a case of how well Scott McTominay had been playing for Manchester United in recent weeks. And basically, every time McTominay had been in the side since Casemiro had been there, we'd won a game. We'd won the game pretty much. So McTominay didn't play against Brentford. Then Casemiro signed on the day we played Liverpool. McTominay played that game. We won. All of the games after that McTominay started, we won. So it was difficult for Ten Hag, in his mind's eye, to get Casemiro into the side. We lose against Manchester City on Sunday. Casemiro started last night. We won. I thought he did okay. I think, if anything, to be fair, it's probably the best Casemiro performance I think I've seen from him in a red shirt, to be honest. I still think at points he looked somewhat sloppy on the ball last night, but then again, so did everyone. But what I did like is at points last night, which we haven't seen from him previously for United, we did see some forward passes. We did see some breaking up of the play and then delivering it a bit further forward. I thought he did some nice passes towards Ronaldo. So I think that he's going to be starting games now going forward. I think it had even been said prior to the game against Ammonia last night, and it had been said that the expectation was that Casemiro would start at Goodison Park on Sunday, and I myself expect that to happen. I think that obviously when you spend 70 million on a player, irrespective of their age, whether he's 30, 31, or whether he's 20, 21, when you spend that amount of money, the expectation is that he'll start. And it is wild that Scott McTominay was keeping 5-time Champions League winner Casemiro out of the side, but that was the reality for a brief period of time. Now would be the hope that he's going to integrate into the side and prove beneficial for Manchester United this season. I suppose it goes back to what we were talking about with Ronaldo. He is going to need match time. He is going to need consistency in the Manchester United side, but that doesn't mean we can carry him, because we're at a position at this point where we still can't afford to carry players and just sort of bed them in and hopefully they get better. So again, I thought he did well last night. I expect Casemiro to start on Sunday, but Marcel says he thinks McTominay will start. I think, 80 minutes for Casemiro, I think he would be able to, but I suppose there could be a rationale that Ten Hag gives where he says, well, Casemiro played a lot of the games in the week, a lot of the minutes rather in the week, so maybe McTominay does start. I'm not sure. Who's to say they can't both start? I think in certain games, and this is be a big learning point from the game against Manchester City this past weekend, is that actually, you know what? In those bigger games, against City, against maybe Arsenal away, against maybe Liverpool away when we go to Anfield later on this season, that There might be games where we need to start both Casemiro and McTominay. And I know the response to that could be, well, what's the difference then between McFred? We used to absolutely rip Solskjaer for 2 defensive midfielders or 2 pivots to protect the back 4. But clearly, we still haven't evolved to that point where we can play with just 1 defensive midfielder or just 1 ball winner. It does leave us exposed at times, especially with how are we conceding the goals at the moment. Counter-attack. We're conceding the goals on the counter-attack all the time. The last 5 goals we conceded have been counter-attack goals. Against City, Bruno said it in the press conference before the game on Thursday, where he said that City are a possession-based side and we conceded 3 counter-attack goals against them. How does that happen? That shouldn't happen. Against Ammonia, we conceded 2 counter-attacking goals. Clearly, we're vulnerable in the transition, and especially against the better sides, against the bigger sides, we might have to look into, actually, you know what? We might have to play Casemiro and McTominay. We might have to play Casemiro and Fred. Now, who do you sacrifice for that? I'm not sure. I don't want to sacrifice Christian Eriksen. I don't want to sacrifice Bruno Fernandes, but you might have to in for certain games to get that result. So again, that's going to be a really interesting point going forward as well. Just to wrap up the poll in the chat regarding is the Kagenda strong? For CR7. What was the final results? They'll pop up in a second. But I believe the general answer was no. The Kagenda is not strong for CR7. So there you go. So be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As I mentioned, you can vote for us. Remember, you can vote for us in the Football Content Awards. It's the pinned comment in the live chat. It's also the link in the video description. 2 days left to vote for us in that. So if you haven't already, be sure to do so. We're up for an award in 3 categories. So if you haven't, please vote for us. You can also join the UV Members Club by clicking the link in the video description. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content, such as UV Raw, and there'll be a new episode coming soon for that too. A final super chat from James here. It says, don't make me say it. I believe this might be James, who says he's my dad, but he's not my dad. James, you are not my dad. My dad is not you. I can tell one by the name and that face. You're not my dad. I'm assuming you're going to imply that I should go to my room. I'm a grown man, James. It is a strange way to end a morning show, to have another person say go to my room, but okay. Okay, James, it's fine. It's fine. Well, what a way to end the show there, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We'll be back with more content. Overview coming out later today. Got a really fun show lined up there, so keep an eye out for that. Plus, a full game. It's rattled me, that, James. It's rattled me. A full match day weekend coming up. I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.